The Adventure of Tim and Lily. Once upon a time, in a small village surrounded by forests and mountains, there lived a boy named Tim and his younger sister, Lily. Tim was 12 years old, and Lily was 10. They were very close, always playing and exploring the village together. They lived in a cozy little house with their parents, who were kind and hardworking. One day, Tim and Lily decided to explore the nearby forest. Their parents had always told them not to go too far into the forest because it was vast and easy to get lost. But Tim was adventurous, and Lily always followed her brother wherever he went. "Let's go see what's beyond the big oak tree," Tim said one morning. Lily hesitated for a moment. "But Mom and Dad said we shouldn't go too far." Tim smiled and said, "Don't worry. We'll be careful, and we'll come back before lunch." Lily, trusting her brother, agreed, "Okay, let's go." So, with excitement in their hearts, they packed some snacks in a small bag and set off into the forest. As they walked deeper into the woods, the trees grew taller, and the air became cooler. Birds chirped above them, and the sound of a nearby stream was soothing. After a while, they came across a beautiful clearing with bright wildflowers and a small pond. The sunlight reflected on the water, making it sparkle like diamonds. "Wow! This place is amazing!" Lily exclaimed. Tim nodded. "I knew there was something special in this forest." They sat by the pond, ate their snacks, and enjoyed the peaceful surroundings. After resting, Tim stood up and said, "Let's explore a bit more before heading back." Lily agreed, and they continued their adventure. As they walked, they saw all kinds of animals, squirrels, rabbits, and even a deer that quickly disappeared into the trees. Everything seemed perfect until they noticed the sky starting to change. Dark clouds were forming, and the forest became quiet. "Uh-oh, it looks like it's going to rain," Lily said, worried. Tim looked up and said, "We should head back now." But as they turned to go back, they realized they couldn't remember the way. Everything looked different, and the path they had taken seemed to have disappeared. "Tim, I think we're lost," Lily said, her voice trembling. Tim tried to stay calm. "It's okay. Let's try to find the stream we crossed earlier. It should lead us back home." They began walking, but the forest now seemed endless. The trees were thick, and it was getting harder to see as the sun was hidden behind the clouds. Soon, it started to rain, and they had no shelter. Lily was scared. "What if we can't find our way home, Tim?" Tim took her hand and said, "We will, Lily. I promise. Just stay close to me." They kept walking, but the rain became heavier, and they were soon soaked. They came across a large, hollow tree, and Tim suggested they take shelter inside until the rain stopped. Inside the tree, they sat close together to stay warm. Lily was shivering, and Tim felt bad for leading them into the forest. "I'm sorry, Lily," Tim said quietly. "I should have listened to Mom and Dad." Lily shook her head. "It's not your fault, Tim. We'll find our way back." As they sat there, trying to stay positive, they suddenly heard a strange noise outside the tree. It sounded like footsteps. Tim peeked out and saw a shadowy figure moving through the forest. "Lily, stay here. I'll check it out," Tim whispered. Lily grabbed his arm. "No, don't go. What if it's dangerous?" Tim smiled and said, "I'll be careful. I promise." He stepped out of the tree, and to his surprise, the figure wasn't a person, it was a big, friendly-looking dog. The dog wagged its tail when it saw Tim. "Hey there," Tim said softly, feeling relieved. "Are you lost too?" The dog barked happily and ran around them in circles, as if it wanted them to follow. "Lily, come out. It's just a dog. Tim called. Lily stepped out of the tree and saw the dog. Ah, he's cute. Do you think he can help us? The dog barked again and started running in one direction, stopping occasionally to look back at them. Tim said, I think he wants us to follow him. Maybe he knows the way home. With no other option, they decided to follow the dog. It led them through the forest, over streams, and around tall trees. They walked for what felt like hours, but the dog never left their side. Finally, as the rain began to stop and the sky cleared a little, they saw something familiar, the big oak tree near their village. Look, Lily! We're almost home! Tim shouted with joy. Lily smiled, her fear fading away. I can't believe it. The dog really helped us. They ran the rest of the way, and soon they could see their village in the distance. The dog stayed with them until they reached the edge of the forest, then it barked one last time and ran off into the trees. When they finally got home, their parents were waiting outside, worried. Where have you been? Their mother asked, her voice full of concern. Tim and Lily explained everything, their adventure, getting lost, and how the dog had helped them find their way back. Their father smiled and said, You were lucky to find such a helpful dog. But next time, listen to us. The forest can be dangerous. Tim nodded. We will, Dad. I'm sorry. That night, as they sat around the dinner table, Tim and Lily couldn't stop talking about their adventure. They were tired, but happy to be home, safe and sound. And from that day on, whenever they went into the forest, they always remembered the lesson they learned. It's okay to explore, but always be careful and never go too far. A day at the grocery store. One bright morning, Sarah and John, two good friends, decided to go grocery shopping together. Sarah called John and said, Hey John, what are your plans today? John replied, I don't have much to do. I think I'll go to the grocery store to buy some things. Sarah smiled and said, Perfect. I need to go grocery shopping too. Let's go together. John agreed, Sure. That sounds great. Before heading out, they decided to make a list of things they needed. Sarah said, I need vegetables, fruits, milk, and eggs. What about you? John thought for a moment and said, I also need milk and eggs, but I need some bread and snacks for the weekend too. With their lists ready, they left for the grocery store. When they arrived, the store was quite busy. John looked around and said, Wow, the store is full of people today. Sarah laughed, Yes, it seems like everyone is shopping for the weekend. They started with the vegetable section. Sarah picked up some tomatoes, onions, and carrots. She asked John, What about you? John replied, I'll get some potatoes and spinach. Oh, do we need garlic? Sarah nodded, Yes, I'll grab some garlic too. After getting the vegetables, they moved to the fruit section. Sarah picked some bananas and apples, while John chose fresh oranges. Next, they went to the dairy section to get milk and eggs. Sarah asked, Do you need any milk? John said, Yes, I'll take a carton of skimmed milk. It's lighter, right? Sarah agreed, Yes, I always buy skimmed milk. Now, let's get some eggs. They grabbed a dozen eggs and moved towards the bread aisle. John asked, Which bread do you prefer? Sarah replied, I usually buy whole wheat bread. It's healthier. John nodded, I'll take that too. Finally, they went to the snack aisle. John picked up some chips and cookies, while Sarah chose some crackers. At the checkout, John looked at Sarah and said, That was fun. We've got everything we need.